Welcome woodblock print collectors and enthusiasts to our first video of 2025. I hope it's a happy, healthy year for you and full of new ukiyo-e discoveries. Today we are continuing our artist series with a look at the artist Keisai Eisen. And this is the 9th video in this series. You might want to check out some of the previous artist videos if you haven't already. And please subscribe so you know when the next one's going to be released. Okay, let's talk about today's artist, Keisai Eisen. He worked during the same time as Kuniyoshi and Kunisada. This sketch of him was done by Kuniyoshi. Eisen created over 2,000 print designs in his career. He specialized in bijin-ga, or pictures of beautiful women. And he ranked with the best bijin-ga artists of that era: Utamaro, Eishi, Eisho, Choki, and Eizan. On top of that, he was also an excellent landscape artist. And I'll be showing you some examples of his prints in a minute, but first, let's begin with his origin story. Eisen was born in Edo, and he was the son of a painter and calligrapher. At the age of 12, he was apprenticed to a Kano school painter named Was Keisai, from whom he took the name Keisai. And then later, after the death of his father, he may have studied under Kikukawa Eizan, who was a follower of Utamaro. Here are a couple of bijin-ga prints by Eizan, so you can see the similarities with Utamaro's elegant style of depicting women. At this time, Eisen also visited the house of Katsushika Hokusai, who lived nearby. Keisai Eisen was known as an accomplished writer. He wrote kabuki plays and popular fiction. He contributed to the Ukiyo-e Ruiko, or the History of Prints of the Floating World. This book documented the lives of the ukiyo-e artists. And I found a translation of part of this book online, and I'll put the link in the video notes. It's quite interesting because it talks about the publishers, artists, and printing process during that time. At the age of 20, Eisen's father and stepmother had died, and he had to raise his 3 younger sisters. It was at this time he decided to become a woodblock print artist. Now, let's take a look at some of his popular print series in semi-chronological order, starting with his 1822 series, Imayo Bijin Junike, or 12 Views of Contemporary Style Beauties. This print is titled Tough Looking. These prints feature close-up views of distinct types of women. The backgrounds are empty except for the text, and near the top, an inset image of a landscape inside a scroll. The important thing here is that Eisen veered away from the traditional style of depicting women. His women have wider eyes with heavier eyelashes. The faces are longer and more angular, and he added these pouting lips. And this was considered very decadent and sexualized at that time. They are definitely not as graceful and elegant as the prints of the other bijin-ga artists, but they do have more personality and spirit. In the same series, here we have the amused type with an inset image of Sumida River. And this is looks gentle type with ships at Tsukuda Shinchi. In 1823, 1 year later, we have his series Customs of the Floating World, a Contest of Beautiful Women. In this series, the backgrounds are still very sparse and the women are taking up even more of the frame. We have a woman drinking sake, a geisha holding a pipe, and a geisha writing a letter. This one reminded me of Yoshitoshi's print from 1892. The composition and coloring is very similar. The next series is from 1824, called Bien Senjoko. This is actually an early example of product placement because besides being a beautiful woodblock print, it also advertised a face powder called senjoko. You can see in this one that the woman is brushing the makeup on. During the Edo period, a white skin was regarded as the essence of a beautiful woman. An old saying was that a light skin conceals 7 other defects. The owner of the face powder company, a Mr. Sakamoto, also hired Kuniyoshi and Kunisada to create prints that promoted his face powder. The poem on this print reads, Bien Senjoko, the well-known popular face powder made by Sakamoto. Admiring this famous product, what a beauty. Also in 1824, we have one of my favorites, this striking O-Kubi, or Big Head series. The translated title of this series is something like Rejected Geisha from Passions Cooled by Springtime Snow. And just look at that dynamic coloring of the red, the gold, the black, and white colors. And here you can really see the heavy eyelashes, long noses, and that pouty lower lip. These expressions that really communicate their independence, their character, and their personality. I found this series from the late 1820s that I really like. It's called A Modern Pine Needle Collection. The blue background designs represent hogozome, which is a cheap fabric made from recycled writing paper. And even though this is over 200 years old, it looks quite modern to me. In 1830, Eisen's house burned down and he moved to Hanamachi, which was a licensed quarter or red light district, and he started to run a brothel. Fortunately for us, I think the brothel also burned down a few years later and he returned to woodblock print design. Now let's take a break from Bijinga and look at his next major series based on the Tokaido Road. That was the main traveling route from Edo to Kyoto. Eisen actually created a 53 stations of the Tokaido series way back in 1822. It was called A Tokaido Board Game of Courtesans, 53 pairings in the Yoshiwara. And here is an example of a print from that series. This is Otsu Station with the courtesan Osato. And you can see the landscape in that small cartouche in the upper right. But after the success of Hiroshige's 53 Stations of the Tokaido in 1833, landscape prints became really popular. Utagawa Kunisada created his version of the Tokaido series that featured a beautiful woman in the foreground and a heavily borrowed, copied Hiroshige landscape design for the background. Eisen then created his own 53 stations of the Tokaido series, similar to Kunisada's version, around 1837. It also featured large, beautiful women portraits in the foreground, with the Tokaido landscapes in the upper background. Here are a couple of comparisons of Eisen's print design, which is Oban size, the bigger size print, next to Kunisada's print, which is Chuban, or medium size. The larger paper size definitely allows for more detail and technique. These are both of Oiso Station on the Tokaido, and these two are both of Mitsuke Station. Here are another couple of examples from Eisen's series. I love this series because you get his beautiful design of both the Bijin and the landscape all in one print. The Kiso Kaido, similar to the Tokaido, was one of the 5 major roads in Japan and went from Nihonbashi Bridge in Edo to Kyoto, 332 miles away. This next series we'll see is from the 1835 series called the 69 Stations Along the Kiso Kaido. It was originally announced by the publisher that Hiroshige was going to design the prints, but then he awarded it to Eisen. Of the 71 prints in the series, Eisen designed 24, and then, I don't know why, but Hiroshige did take over and complete it. The one we're looking at is Nojiri Station. probably one of the most famous images from this series. It's very striking, with the green mountains on both sides being cut by the jagged blue waterfall. And near the top, you can see the people crossing the bridge. Here's another popular print design of a Kodo station, where these fishermen used trained cormorants to catch fish in the river. Next, Itabana Station, a beautiful winter snow scene. And finally, an urban street scene. This is Fukaya Station, with women out in the evening. And so you can see by these examples, Eisen was one of the better Edo landscape artists. But we're not done yet. In 1843, there's another nice landscape series called 8 Views of Edo. This is a horizontal format print with a fan-shaped cartouche in the upper left. This print is view of Mount Tsukuba from the Sumida River. And this one is returning sails at Shiba Bay. And this one is sunset glow at Ryogoku Bridge. The final landscape discovery I made is this wonderful, hard-to-find 1845 series called Famous Scenic Spots in the Mountains of Nikko, probably inspired by Hokusai's earlier set of 8 waterfall prints. Here we have the Kigon Falls, Noodle Falls, and Backward Viewing Falls. I would love to get one of these in my collection. I thought I'd end with this gorgeous triptych of beauties called Birds and Flowers, Wind and Moon in the modern style. We see 3 beautiful women in fancy kimonos on a windy evening, with the cherry blossoms and papers flying all around them. It's a fantastic composition with a lot of energy. The passage that Eisen wrote in the History of Prints of the Floating World was known as Notes of a Nameless Old Man. In that, he describes himself as a hard drinker, and I think that probably contributed to his death at age 58 in 1848. I hope you've enjoyed this overview of Keisai Eisen. Keep an eye out for his prints and add some to your collection. Until next time, please like and subscribe, and happy collecting.